Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. um, so today is the first session for MECH 1301 statics, section 3 and 4, right? So hopefully you can see the slides. So especially for those who are having their first semester in IIUM Gombak campus, welcome to IIUM Gombak. If any case someone who is already taking this course for the second time, welcome back, inshallah. Hopefully this will be the last time you're taking this course. Now, so today we will have basically the briefing towards the course, the briefing towards how it is going to be conducted, especially the way that I normally conduct the class, right? So, statics is one of the compulsory subject for Kuliah of Engineering, where regardless of your department, you have to take it, right? Be it so if you are from mechanical department, which is automotive and aerospace, obviously this is the fundamental subject that you have to understand. If you are from mechatronics, for example, so mechanical is a important component. If you are from civil, it is very much related. But if you are from, I don't know, biotech, etc., it is quite far away from what you normally expect in your subject. But because of the policy of the university or the kuliah, you have to have several first year subject that all of the kuliah of engineering have to take. For example, statics, for example, circuit, I think, etc. So yes, you have to take and you have to pass the subject, right? First and foremost, this is my name, Muhammad Saifuddin bin Muhammad Rehan. So I am a lecturer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I have been teaching this subject for 7 years, since 2014, I think, roughly. And yeah, the way I conducted the course have evolved in a certain way until now. And that is part of the thing that I will be sharing today. Record meaning apa? This session, yes, it is recorded, and I will also touch on on those aspects as well in terms of the recording resources. All right. So a little bit on myself, of course, because normally at the beginning of the class, especially the first class, some are still making way to the class. So normally I start with something that is not really important, even if you do not know all of this, not really important. So this is just about myself. So I graduated from University Tenaga Nasional for my bachelor degree, and then I teach for 1 semester in UPM. So interesting thing in UPM back then is the class is about half and half Malay and Chinese, right? So it's quite interesting when I'm sitting in front. For whatever reason, half of the Malay always sit one side, half the Chinese sit on the other side, and 2-3 Indians sit at the very back. Not sure why, but that is what happened. And the common thing every time at the end of the class, when I say, "Is there any question?" all the Chinese student raise up their hand, want to ask question. All the Malay student packing their bags, want to go home, right? And then when I come to IIM, everyone pack their bag, no one asked question. So I'm not sure why that is the case, but that is interesting to see. Anyway, after that, I come to IIUM, become a staff here. A little bit on that because after my degree, if you know, I'm not sure how many students actually have the ambition to become a lecturer. Normally, almost no one, right? But if someone want to become a lecturer, one of the prerequisite is to have a PhD, right? For at that time, UPM want me after degree straight away to do my PhD. So I got scared, so I ran to UIE, IIUM. So they say you can do master first before PhD. And then I did my master in UTM Skudai, spent 2 years there. And then I did my PhD in France, Institut Supérieur de l'Automobile et des Transports. So this is how it looks like. If you do not know this is a university, you might not know this is a university, but it is. It focuses on automotive, right? So, and yeah, this is my family there in Europe. 2 of them are born there. Anyway, so after I finished my PhD in 2013, since then I've been teaching in the Kuliah of Engineering, Department of Mechanical. Right, so IIUM, which have this tagline, right? Garden of Knowledge and Virtue. I believe if you are from CFS Foundation, it's the same tagline, right? You know this already, Garden of Knowledge and Virtue. So at the first semester, I do like to ask the student what they think about this. Do you think, yes, this is what IIUM is? It is a garden of knowledge and virtue. Or you think, ni sembang ni. Or I'm not sure how to express that in English, but it's just words with no real, real application in the daily life, right? What do you think so far? Do you think, yes, this is what I feel in IIUM? It's garden. I'm not sure where is the garden, but it's garden of knowledge and also virtue. Any comment? Anyone? Hopefully you can have your own drinks.
Well, to be honest, this is our first semester.
Come again?
Didn't have the quite experience. Yes.
Anyone else also want to share? Of course, hopefully, I'm not sure how what do you expect in a normal class. Do you want only one-way communication, or you? I always feel the feedback in many sessions. Many complain that why is it only one-way communication? But when I turn it around, I always ask question. No one want to answer the question, so I'm not sure what they. I cannot give personal. Okay, so some of you are just starting your journey in the university, right? So 2 things is mentioned there: knowledge and also virtue, right? So based on that statement, right? So myself as a lecturer, do you think my task as a lecturer handling the class is only to touch on only knowledge or virtue, or both, or what do you think?
Both.
Both?
2 of them.
Yeah,
Both of
maybe.
them.
Okay, so do you answer that because you feel that should be the case, or you think that is the answer that I want to hear?
Well, everything has to be balanced.
Yeah, I feel it should be the case for the lecturer.
Okay, so if it is both, then if in the class, of course, normally the knowledge part specifically for this course is on statics. Virtue is about being a Muslim, right? So if in this class, if you are saying both, do not be surprised if suddenly I come with the aspect of virtue, right? For example, suddenly something like this comes in the picture, right? Hopefully you are familiar with this verse. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahar la ayatin li ulil albab allazina yazkuruna Allaha qiyaman wa qu'udan wa 'ala junubihim wa yatafakkaruna fi khalqis samawati wal ard rabbana ma khalaqta hadza batila subhanaka faqina 'adzaban nar. Sadaqallahul azim. Now, hopefully someone who just joined, this is statics, even though you might think you come to the wrong place here. Anyway, so normally when we try to justify, right, why do we learn, I don't know, physics, chemistry, engineering, science, right? We tend to justify that it is a way that when we understand that, we become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We see the power of Allah, etc., right? So in Even in my SPM, I answer like that, right? So in this verse, Allah mentioned that the creation of samawati wal ard, the heaven and earth, and the change between night and day is la ayat. What is ayat? You familiar with verse? Any other answer in this context?
Reminders.
Reminder, interesting. Anyone who you can also answer in Malay if you do not know, because some of us are familiar with the Malay translation, right? Yeah, it's signs, right? Or in Malay normally we say tanda-tanda, right? So it is interesting that, because if you refer to any mu'jizat, because we I think we need the word mu'jizat, right? For example, what is the example of mu'jizat? The stick of Prophet Musa, right? Become snake, etc., right? That's, or the separate of the sea, etc., the water, right? In Quran, Allah always refer to all of those as ayat. It's the signs, it's tanda-tanda kebenaran, kebesaran Allah, etc., right? The signs of the truth, right? Li'ulil albab, for those who have knowledge, for those who ponder, etc., right? It is interesting because I think in Malay, because we take the word ayat and we take it as a Malay word, right? Ayat is, if we take the Malay word ayat, we translate into English, it becomes sentence or verse, right? But the original meaning is sign, right? And so that is an interesting question about why is the verse in the Quran called ayat, right? Because every single verse is a sign, right? So I think we missed that point for whatever reason, because especially for Malay, because we understand ayat as a sentence or verse, right? So that is where our misunderstanding start, right? But anyway, allazina yazkuruna Allaha qiyaman wa qu'udan wa ala junubihim, those who always think of or remember of Allah in whatever position, right? Standing up, on their side. Wa yatafakkaruna fi khalqis samawati wal ard, and ponder upon the creation of heaven and earth. Rabbana ma khalaqta hadza batila subhanaka. So none of this is without a purpose, basically, right? And subhanallah, right? Fakina azaban nar. So here's the thing, we always justify, if anyone asks why do we study science, why do we study engineering, we say from science, from engineering, we can know the power of Allah, etc., etc., right? But who can actually pinpoint any personal experience where they actually feel that when they study whatever they study, and then the conclusion at the end of the day, subhanallah? How many actually genuinely have ever had that experience, or it never happened? Right? Because that is where I think what we say, what we claim, normally is just a claim without a evidence of it being a true thing, right? So just like, for example, this is a totally different case, but I still remember one example that I give in my exam in SPM, right? The question says, what is the hikmah of Hajj? So I said, all the Muslims from all over the world come together regardless of the race, blah 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 blah. So it's the brotherhood, blah blah. And then when I go to Mecca, I always stick with the Malay until I get back, right? So that means that whatever I write as my answer is just cakap kosong in Malay, or it's just empty statement. It's not real for me, right? So if any of us still making claim like that, we should realize that we should stop being a hypocrite and actually, ponder why are we like this, right? Anyway, so it's a big thing about when we are studying science, etc. Do we truly live the statement that we spoke of, right? Anyway, moving on. Going back to the class, so there's two components basically. One is the teaching and learning interaction like this, from a lecturer to the students, and as well as there's a assessment process, right? So the top one is the process here, and then there will be assessment. So in terms of this teaching and learning process, so there will be mainly statics, that's our syllabus, and there will be the plus thing, right? Something just like what you have experienced just now. We will discuss about certain things that you should realize as a Muslim. But fortunately for you, for the assessment, you will be only tested for statics, right? I will not test you what is the meaning of that verse, etc., right? Of that hadith, etc. But it is more on hopefully you pick up what you should understand from those things, right? So that's basically what will happen, generally speaking, in my class, right? So the statics part of course is the knowledge part, and then you are going to be assessed on the statics part in your quiz, midterm, and final, right? So the virtue part is I will not test you. I actually did one semester, I did test the student, and many students hate me for that because they say they just want to learn statics, they do not want to learn Quran, etc., right? Okay, we will start with this quote, begin with the end in mind. How many of you familiar with this quote by Stephen Covey? Familiar? Not familiar?
No, sir.
Okay, 1% is familiar, 2%. How many of you actually read anything outside of your how to say, of your course? Of course, reading Twitter, etc., do not count, right? So this is from the 7 Habit, right? The book that I honestly suggest that you read book like this, right? Because especially if you want to really achieve big things in your life, this is the kind of book that you should read, right? 7 Habit of, what is it? Highly Effective People or something like that, right? I forgot the full title, but it's centered about 7 habits that basically based on the research of looking at all the big successful people in the world. There are 7 common habits. So of course, if we also want to be successful, we should see how we want to apply all of that 7 habits. One of it is begin with the end in mind. What that means is, before you even take your first step, you already have the clear vision of what is the end that you want to achieve, right? So for example, at the beginning of your Form 5, you already know, I want 10A, for example, right? Etc., right? So at the beginning of your journey in IIUM, you should already have the clear picture of, at the end of these 4 years in IIUM, I want to achieve this. What is that? Right? Because it should not just only be academic wise. It should be, I want to acquire, for example, this degree with this knowledge, with these skills, with this soft skill, with this whatever, right? So if you are clear on all of those, you will have then can chart a path towards that, right? So then how do you study, how do you involve in co-curriculum, society, etc., right? So but if you do not have that clear mind in the end, what you want to achieve, most students will realize this at the end of 4 years. Only then they will realize they have missed on many big opportunities, especially in IIUM. You have many opportunities of societies, of fuqaha, of people of knowledge, of those who can help you with tilawah, etc., 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 right? So there's a lot of opportunity, but if you do not have a clear goal in mind before you even start your first semester, you should start to think straight away, what do I really want to achieve, right? So every successful people have this habit, right? When we say habit, it is habit, right? It's second nature. You live like that. Now, so before I start with statics, I would just want to zoom out to look at the big picture of our life. Every single of us here have this, basically the big picture, right? We were once there. Of course, unless we are abnormal, no one remember our time there in the womb, right? And then now we are living on this planet, and one day the angel of death will come and say time's up. Of course, I'm not saying the angel of death look like that. I'm just Google and that's the image that I can find. Of course, we do not know how angel looks like. And then there will be the judgment day, and in the end, for eternity, there's only two options there, right? And the big question is that, right? I think we know all of us know already, especially all of us Muslim. This is the big question at the end. However, the sad thing is the way we live right now sometimes do not reflect as if we know this thing in the end, right? So or it reflects as if we do not care where we want to spend our eternity, right? So this is a big question that I think when we say we begin with that in mind, by hook by crook, I really want to end up in heaven, in Jannah, right? So if you have that principle, inshallah, the way you live your life will be accordingly, right? So if I pick this one verse from the Quran, right? This one ayat. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu dkhulu fis silmi kaffah wa la tattabi'u khutuwatis syaitan innahu lakum aduwwum mubin. So Allah asks us, Allah make a command, ya ayyuhallazina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffah. You have to enter into Islam totally, right? Fully. Now, right now we are living as a student. So my question is this: is it possible if I say I'm making a claim, right? I'm entering into Islam kafah, totally as a Muslim, fully. Is it possible I make that claim and then on one hand I pray 5 times a day, but at the same time I cheat in my exam? Is that possible to make that claim and then live like this? What do you think?
No, sir.
No.
So we know the answer, right?
It's haram.
No. However, how come this still happen? Or do you know this happen? I think most students know whether they themselves are involved or they know some friends who do these things, right? Even I think how many semesters back, that was very interesting experience for me as a lecturer, because we have an exam. This is before COVID, etc., right? We have the exam in the exam hall, and it was Ramadan, and still students are cheating. I do not know what to say anymore, right? So so what is going on, right? So now 2 years back, the admin asked the lecturer to remind this case that happened to a final year student, right? One final year student 2 years back was terminated, meaning that because he was caught cheating red-handed in the exam hall, and he is also already in the final year. So we will say that the 4 years he spent in the university, from the perspective of getting a scroll, is totally go down the drain, right? Meaning terminated, meaning you are gone, right? Bye bye, right? Now, so this case becomes something, basically it's like to scare the student from cheating, right? But from my perspective is this: what if the student was not caught? What will happen? He will be living happily right now, right? Alhamdulillah, I was not caught for cheating. I'm not sure what is the way of thinking, but so this from my perspective, because I do not really have a habit to try to catch the student from cheating. My paradigm is more like this. I hope all of students see their life as this, right? Right now you're a student, and one day you hope to graduate, and of course that's the highlight of graduation, right? You throw your hats up, right? Your martabat, right? If you know convocation, I think the only thing why people go through convocation is two things. One is for the picture, one is just to throw the hat. Otherwise, it's one boring ceremony. That's just my opinion, right? So anyway, we want to have the scroll. From that, we apply for work. We can qualify for work. From that risk, from the salary, we can provide for ourselves and our family. For whatever reason, all of them while eating, playing handphone. So unfortunately, our family like that today. But anyway, that's not the case. That's not the discussion here. The discussion is this: if all of this, you know, you get your scroll, you graduate, you get the scroll, you apply for work, you get your risk, is based on your achievement due to you cheating in the exam. Do you think that you will be satisfied and think Alhamdulillah when the angel of death come and say your time is up, while the whole life is built upon your salary, etc., obtained from a transcript based on cheating, right? So this is the mindset that I hope every student have, because regardless of you are caught or not, you cannot escape this. You cannot escape the final question at the end of this life, right? So to escape being caught in this world is quite easy actually, right? But that's not the point, because you can escape human. You can, right? Many people can, but you cannot escape the eternal judgment from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, right? So I hope from the beginning and throughout your studies, etc., you have this in mind, right? And why I do emphasize this, because from my point of view is like this. My task as a lecturer teaching statics, of course I will do my best to teach and provide so that you can excel in statics. Of course I try my best to do that, but I think that it is no point, how to say this, if a student, I can make the student excel, get A in statics, but for whatever reason he continue to live his life not in the manner that he should be, and then end up in hell, na'uzubillah, right? Then I'm a total failure in that sense, right? Compared to a student that, you know, perhaps not as good in that sense in getting this grade, but alhamdulillah end up in Jannah, right? There's no way. Do you think there's any possibility that someone in Jannah, you know, they enter paradise but they still regret, yeah, this paradise is great, but I still regret not getting A in statics? Is there any possibility? There's no possibility, right? Meaning you will forget about what this life, right? It's time to enjoy that, right? As well as, is there any possibility that anyone in hell, in Jahannam, na'uzubillah, that yeah, Jahannam is bad, but at least I score, right? There's no such thing, right? So put that in mind. It's not worth to cheat that jeopardize everything, right? So just work hard, work honestly, and inshallah Allah will give the best in the end, right? So hopefully all of us remember that in whatever we do, right? Okay, then the next thing is those who fail to plan is planning to fail. This is also a famous quote. So even though you already clear what you want to achieve in the end, but if you do not plan, you still are planning to fail, right? So hopefully you plan properly, and this is why I think many first semester students struggle. And unfortunately, statistics is the first semester subject, and I will show you some of the result of the previous student and why there's so many failure, right? Because it's not because the subject is tough. It's because many students do not manage their life properly, right? So for example, some student will find a newfound freedom. I'm not sure how many of you already feel like that, that you are free to do whatever you want. And then some also found things like, I don't know, internet gaming, network gaming, etc. And in my student life also, that is the big thing, right? So suddenly no one will ask me to sleep if I just want to stay up playing games, etc., right? And those are the things that tend to, if you do not manage your life properly, it tend to make your, I don't know, the grade, your study, etc. miserable, right? So hopefully you please manage your life properly, right? Do not fall into the trap just because you follow the trend, etc. Yeah. How many of you are familiar with this analogy? Or do you know what is the analogy just by seeing this picture?
Yes.
Yes.
Familiar? So what is this? Anyone who have ever done this exercise? Basically, basically you have the same jar, the same amount of rocks and sand, right? However, on the right side, we put the big rock first, and then we put the small rocks, and then we put the sand, and everything can fit. But on the left side, if you put the sand first and then you put the small rock, you cannot actually fit everything. That's just how it is, right? Because if you put the big rock first and then you put the smaller, it will just fill in the space. And then if you put the sand last, it will fill all the space, right? But if you already put the sand at the bottom, then you cannot fit everything in the end, right? So this represents our life as well, right? So if you manage your life properly, you just prioritize the big rock first. Your study, your your religion, your solar, your whatever, and then you put the smaller rocks, and then you put the sand, which is maybe leisure, games, hanging out with friends, whatever. You actually can do everything. But if you do not prioritize, you just spend your time first with whatever leisure, etc., you find out that you do not have enough time to do everything, right? And many students fall into that trap, right? Because they do not prioritize. If you arrange your life properly, you actually can still have those leisure and etc., right? But if you do not manage properly, in the end you have to sacrifice something. That's those big rocks that you cannot fit. Sometimes one of that is study, one of that is whatever, right? So avoid that, right? So make sure you know what is your big rocks, right? So put the big rock first, right? So I'm not just saying the big rock is study. There are many things in life that should be the big rock. So this will relate to what you want to achieve in the end. So if you really want to achieve knowledge and then skills, etc., so then those become your big rocks, right? So you have to allocate time for your subject, for your revision, for your society, for your whatever, right? So because those can give you skills that is important as well. Now I hope you have the correct mindset, in the sense that in today's world, even if we're just talking about the job market, right? Because there are so many people have degree already. So just having a degree and whatever is not enough nowadays. They will test you on your ability to speak, your ability to discuss, your ability to lead team, etc. So if you only take course and never lead any team, etc., in society, whatever, you still will lose out in your, after graduated. So make sure you properly manage your life so that you have all the experience that you need, right? Now so this is attendance policy, so I just go through so that you understand the policy. First is the attendance policy, so I'll stop presenting that slide. I'll present the this here. So I'll just go through in 1-2 minutes. I think you know this already. So basically, if you look here, you need to fulfill 80% attendance to be able to take the exam. Meaning that if you absent in more than 20%, you cannot take the exam. You will be barred from the exam, right? So normally the process is, after you miss 10% of the class, you'll get a warning letter. And then if you still miss another 10% to make it missing 20%, you will be barred, right? So normally in the 14-week semester, there will be 28 classes. So 10% is 2.8, roughly 3, right? So if you miss 3 classes, you will get a warning letter. If you miss another 3 classes, you will get barred, right? So that's generally. For this semester, I'm not sure when it's shift to online, we still have to take attendance. So we will go about that after this, right? But anyway, so that's the policy. So I can shut that down. Next is the sample, just to show a sample of a warning letter. So hopefully you will not get this, but this is just to show what it looks like. So you basically, you have name, metric number, etc., and what course you have been absent in, and to say that you have missed 10%. If you fail to meet 80% requirement attendance, you will get barred. And it mentioned here, can you see this? Oops. Now, what is important to understand is this. I hope you really understand this. When you get barred, you actually get Y. You do not get F. In terms of CGP, is the same because both are 0. If you get F, it's 0. If you get Y, it's also 0. But in the transcript, it's different. Because if, for example, a student get F and then he repeat, he pass, right? From the, if you have that transcript, you want to apply for job, then the picture that they have is, oh, you failed this short course, but you take again, then you pass. Okay, so you maybe a slow learner, whatever, right? But if you get Y, it means that you have a discipline problem. So they will think that you have attitude problem. So it will harm your, your transcript will be bad. So please avoid being barred, because some students like this, when they take the midterm or something and they know they will fail anyway, so they think, why bother, why do I come to class anyway, right? Because I will fail. But the issue is the transcript will be different. If you miss the class, you get barred, your transcript will have Y, which is so detrimental. So avoid that. If you do not want to come to class and you know you'll fail anyway, just drop the class officially, right? You drop or withdraw, so that your name will not be there anymore, right? Or just continue and just get F, right? Hopefully none of you will have that problem, but I just hope you understand the difference between fail with an F because your grade is bad, and fail because you are barred because you have attitude or discipline problem. That's so bad to have in your transcript. So by all means, please avoid getting that. Hopefully you understand that. All right. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show what it looks like. Let me, because I didn't. Okay, let me go back to that same document. Oops, where is it? Oops. Okay, I wanted to show. Sorry, I forgot to scroll down. Allah. Present. Okay, I'm showing the same document yet again, but I want to scroll down. Now, not only you have that, because down here you have this pemberitahuan kepada ibu bapa penjaga. So actually this letter will not reach you, it will reach your parent as well, right? So your anak tuan puan tidak menghadiri blah blah blah, right? So not only for the warning letter, not only to you, but your parent will know about this as well. I'm not sure if you are international student, maybe they cannot understand this because this is in Malay. Hopefully you avoid even, because just now I said avoid getting barred, right? But hopefully you avoid even getting warning letter, unless you really want your family to get a letter, right? Oh, my parent haven't got any letter for a long time, maybe this is good. Hopefully not. Hopefully not no one target for that, right? There's a question just now. Is the course will be online? Okay, for this semester, it seems like it, because of the current circumstances. Before the previous Friday, it seems it will be a hybrid, but unfortunately, for I think last Friday, the Friday before your Ta'aruf week, there's a letter from the ministry saying that blah 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 blah, right? So the circumstances become worse, etc. So now we are almost, I think we'll be almost online for many subjects, almost all online, right? Meaning, wallahu alam, maybe we will see after half of semester what will happen. I cannot comment on that, but for the first few weeks, it will be mainly online. inshallah. That's what I can see for now. Okay, for the textbook, etc., it will be in the slide, inshallah. It is coming. So avoid having that warning letter be sent to your parent. Okay, this is the textbook. So the textbook for this subject will be this one, Engineering Mechanics Statics, by Hibbeler. This one is the 14th edition. So if you get from your senior or from wherever where it's 13th edition, 12th edition, not a problem. The content is mainly the same, just that the question in the book is mainly the different, I think, other than some minor tweaking, right? So not a problem. Of course, because how we conduct the class as well, it is not okay. The class will be conducted using the slides from this textbook. So this textbook comes with a slide, so we'll use that one. So it will tally and match the flow and the elaboration from this book, right? However, for your own reference, if you have any other books that give you the same content, it's not really a problem. Yeah, right. But if you have the same book, then it's similar to what we teach in the class, right? So that's about it. But it is not how to say, it's not compulsory to have, because in terms of the material that I will cover, on the material that you will have the lecture slides, which is already in Google Classroom. Anyone who have, okay, how many of you have entered the Google Classroom and noticed about the slides? I put all the slides in there. Anyone noticed?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, so all the slides for all the chapters is,
Doctor,
yes.
can we have a WhatsApp group?
Yes, we can. So do how to say, do remind at the end of the session so that we can create that group, right? Yeah. So for the WhatsApp group, I'm not sure who, because should I do initiate or any of one of you want to initiate? So it's up to you, because in the previous semester, some of the students that create the WhatsApp group and invite everybody.
I can do it.
Okay, so yeah, so
Alright.
that will be good. Okay, so back to the textbook. This will be the main textbook that we'll be using. So, but in terms of the exam question, okay, in terms of the quizzes, it tend to be from this book. In terms of the midterm and final, normally before it is mainly from this book, but because last semester we have online and this semester online, because when the okay, not the teaching online, but the exam is online. Last semester exam is online. This semester I do not know yet what will happen in how many weeks. If the exam online, the lecturer will how to say, will make a question that you will never see before. So obviously it will not be from this book or any other book. Normally we'll create a new question, right? So the question become actually much difficult when we have online exam, because the rationale, the fear from the lecturer is, if we give question that is existing, you can refer to, right? Because normally in the exam you cannot refer to books. You are sitting in the exam hall, but when you at home, you can open your book. So the lecturer want to avoid, you can find the solution, so they will create some question or combine question, whatever. So normally that's why some student will have much more difficult question when it is online. So wallahu alam what will happen this semester. Original plan, we will have exam here, but with the current COVID situation, I do not know what will happen, so we will have to wait and see. For the course outline, so we will have a look at the course outline. So let me stop this one. So I'll remind me to share this on iTalim as well as Google Classroom. The course outline is the template, right? Because the normal semester is 14 weeks. Our semester currently is a bit special because of the situation. We only have 12 weeks, so there's some modification in terms of it being compact. So even more challenge to you, alhamdulillah. Anyway, so quiz will give you 20%, midterm will give you 30%, final exam will give you 50%. So that's basically the weightage of the assessment. And then you have all the topics here, right? All the different topics, and yeah, that's the reference. So remind me if I forget to put this online, inshallah. All right, so that's the course outline. Getting back to the slides. Okay, next. So mark distribution, just reiterate. We have final exam, midterm, and quizzes. So the final exam is 50%, midterm is 30%, quiz is 20%. My approach. So I have to mention this because many students will notice that my approach toward quizzes, especially, is quite different than many other lecturers. Okay. The normal case is final exam is centralized, meaning that all of us will have the same question for all the section, because static have many sections, right? Midterm as well. But for the quiz, because we will do the quiz based on each session, meaning different lecturer can have different way of doing quiz. The number of quiz will be different, the type of question will be different, etc. Right? So my approach is this. I do quizzes more towards assessment for learning. It is not just assessment of learning. It is assessment for learning. Can you differentiate? Do you know what is what's the difference? Because normally quiz is assessment of learning, meaning that I want to assess how much you have learned. So if you have learned completely, you get full mark. If you have learned less, you get less mark. That is assessment of learning. Assessment for learning is to trigger you to learn. Meaning that after you do the quiz, your conclusion is, oh my god, I need to learn more. So that is how it is being designed, hopefully towards that direction. So what is the implication? The implication is this. There's no such thing as free or easy mark in the quiz. The question will always not be easy, because if it's easy, you think, alhamdulillah, I'm already good, right? So will not want to make you to think like that. Second, the marking will not be lenient, so you will, for any slightest mistake, you will lose a lot of marks. Yeah, so that's the thing. And then there's no makeup quiz. I'm not saying that, makeup, not makeup on the face, but meaning that even if you could not attend a class session due to valid reason, there's not gonna be a makeup quiz. But normally I do more quiz than I take, right? For example, the standard semester is I will take the best 8 quizzes, and we will do more. So you have the buffer to get your best 8 quiz marks, right? Normally in semester, last semester we do how many? 15 quiz or something, right? So I'll just select the best 8. So if any of the quiz that you are absent, that become just the buffer, and you still have the chance to get 8 best quiz. And also another thing, if you hand in late, it will have some severe deduction in marks, right? Yeah. Any question here? Okay, everything is clear? Yes.
So can I ask a question? Is it the there is a tutorial or assignment that we that are accessed to the student in this semester, like in the textbook, from the textbook?
Okay, tutorial or assignment?
Assignments. Mandatory assignment.
There will not be assignment. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah.
How many years back? Is it 8 years back? There used to be assignment in this subject. And the most interesting thing to see is that before the class start, everyone is packed outside the class copying the assignment, right? Because normally one student do and everyone else copy, right? So after that, the lecturer say, why bother? Because just so the assignment is not done anymore. However, there's an effect on that, because apparently, even though all the student, or 90% of the student copy the assignment, when there's no more assignment, most students never seen the equation, etc., before the exam, because when they copy, at least they have seen it, and so the result, the grade become worse, right? So because most students do not do revision on their own, unfortunately, right? So I will talk about that after this, because the way that the course is conducted nowadays, you have to be quite on a high level of independent, right? So it's no longer like school where someone force you to do certain things. You have to actually spend your own time, arrange yourself to try to answer questions, etc., right? And I also have, because we haven't yet go to the way I approach the way I teach, which try to address some of the issues. Anyway, we already are at 4:30 p.m. I just have to ask, because today we are combination of section 3 and 4. So section 3, according to your schedule, it is until 5:30, right? For today. But for section 4, it's only until 4:30, and then on Thursday you have until 5:30, right? So my question is, anyone from section 4 that have anything after this, meaning you have to go? Because the way the content that I want to deliver in the briefing of the first session here, it is almost 2 hours. So if anyone from section 4 that do not have anything, hopefully you can still stay with us until the end. But if you have any, I don't know, class, halaqah, or whatever, anyone, just to check if I need to. You have what at 4, at 5? So, who was it? Me, sir. Ahmad Faiz. You have something? Is it at 5? Or is it at 4:30?
Sir, I have to go buying something for the engineering drawing, because the RMC will be begin at tomorrow. So this is the last day before to buy the tools.
Alright. Okay, anyone else? Okay, for you, because if there's only one or two, my suggestion is, please take a look at the recording of this class after that, before next class, so that you actually know what is being briefed to the class, right? So all of the class that I conducted, I will record and put online, and but you have to ask your friend, because I haven't gone to the slide where I specify where you have to look up the recording, etc. Right? So okay, so anyone who is in the similar situation that you have to go, feel free to do so, but make sure you go back and watch the recording, so that you understand everything that I briefed today. Alright? Okay, I'll continue on. Okay, this is just something that you can find in internet. Fail, what it means is just first attempt in learning. So do not be discouraged if you fail. But hopefully none of you fail in this subject. But that's why I designed so that most students fail in the quiz, so that they will not fail in the exam. Because yeah, it is the first attempt in learning, right? Because I will touch on why I do that, but most students, they do not realize really they have to actually up the effort until they see something on paper that show that they they are severing in the marks, right? So even if I say like this, you have to normally just go in one ear and just go out until they see, oh my god, why is my mark like this? Then if they do not want to fail, only then the urgency come in. So I try to at best make that happen in the quiz, right? So that's why my approach is like that, because normally if that happen in the midterm, it's too late. Okay, this is the requirement of the university, I think. You should know already that the passing mark is 50%. If you get less than 50%, you have to repeat the subject, right? And is it 2 years back or 1 year back, there's this additional regulation that you need to pass your final exam in order to pass a subject, meaning that your final exam itself also have to be more than 50%. Before this additional regulation, anyone who have good carry mark, even though they get quite a bad mark in the exam, they still can pass, because when you add together, if you get more than 50%, you can pass, right? But with this added regulation, whatever your mark in the carry mark, even if you get 100% carry mark, if in the final exam you fail, you will fail. So make sure you understand every chapter, right? Because your final, that's the additional requirement now, right? So hopefully you understand that. So never delay if you do not have, if you don't understand anything in the class. Don't delay, just straight away ask now, right? Do not think, okay, maybe next class I will try to understand. No, it will be too late then, right? So, and that is the nature of the subject, unfortunately. Okay, just want to have your response on this. What do you think? What is your opinion? Is it expected for students in universities to want to learn? Meaning, should I expect, oh, you are a university student, of course you want to learn? Or is it the task of the lecturer to make them want to learn? Or is it my job to motivate you to learn, right? Which one is it? Do you think? Oh, no answer?
It's better for students in universities to want to learn instead of lecturers making them want to learn.
Okay, some say both, some still varies. Okay, I'm not saying, of course it varies, but we're talking about expectation, or what should happen, what should be the case. Do you accept that if I say, because this is not primary school or secondary school, right? This is university. Shouldn't all university students actually want to learn what they sign up for?
Yes.
Or anyone disagree? Of course, I know in the reality,
Yes.
some students have the issue of I'm only here because my parent, blah blah blah, right? So that's a longer discussion of why many students taking this course because of something else, right? So that's an issue. I do understand some students struggle with that one. They do not want to take engineering, but the parent want them to take engineering, and then they suffer. If anyone have that kind of issues, please discuss with those who can help. Either you become interested, or I don't know what is the best solution. Otherwise, you will suffer for 4 years. And the worst case scenario I have seen in this university is this: there's a student that really do not like engineering, but the parent want him to learn engineering, so he forced himself. First year struggle, fail some subject, but still go on, but he cannot carry on until the 3rd year because it's too tough already. The subject is too tough already, and he try and cannot. Then he request for change of major. He changed to, I think, human science or something, right? Change kuliah. But he already wasted 3 years, right? So I hope none of you will have some similar problem like that, right? So I'm not sure what is the best solution for anyone who face this kind of problem. One is if somehow you can become interested in what you want to learn, because if you are not interested, it's tough, right? Second, find the solution early, because if you waste 3 years before you go to the other path, I don't know, I think that's too much time to waste. That's just my opinion. Anyway, right, so generally speaking, and the course is designed assuming you already want to learn. So the course is very packed, especially in this subject, right? So every single class you will learn something new. If you are not interested, or if you do not have the motivation to learn, please find the motivation somewhere, because otherwise it will be very, very tough. And okay, from a lecturer perspective, I think we can detect who want to learn just like this and who don't, right? So it's quite obvious. Now, in terms of my approach, this is my hypothesis. In order to wake up a student that is sleeping, the only way that I know how to really wake him up effectively is to tackle him hard until the helmet go off like that, right? What I mean by this is the implication is significant and it is actually real. Then you will see that this is important. I'm not sure if you get this. So meaning that when I say it's significant, meaning that every single mistake in the quiz will be penalized significantly, and it is real. When we say real, meaning that I do not just scare you, but I do not actually punish. I will actually punish, right, in the quiz setting, right? So because many students, they listen to the same briefing, but when they see the quiz, what happened, they will always ask, why is it like this? But I said I already briefed you why I do such things, right? Hopefully you become awake as soon as possible. Then because normally when I started doing this, for many students, in the first 2-3 quizzes, they wake up already, and then they delivered for the rest of the semester, and then they get good grades. But for those who still do not want to wake up, unfortunately there's no helping. Okay, one thing that is okay, this is mathematics, right? Of course this tic-tac-toe is not mathematics, but the rest is mathematics, I think. Now the thing is here, I hope you are paying attention to this. I want to remind you this hopefully very clearly. I'm not sure. Okay, trigonometry, integration, etc., right? These are mathematics that you have learned before, and in this course it is not designed to teach you mathematics, but it does expect you to already know all of this. It expects you to just able to use mathematics to solve engineering problem. The issue is this: if you are struggling with any of this, sine, cosine, tangent, blah blah blah, integration, etc., if you struggle with this, even if you understand the engineering concept, you still cannot solve the problem, because the problem need you to use all the mathematics. So I want you to be clear from the beginning. If you are already rusty about any of this, please revise before next week. Otherwise it is too late already. It's not too late, you can still revise, but in the sense of you are not only learning one subject, right? You have many other subjects, and this subject will just come thick and fast. Every single week you have new chapter. So it's already too difficult if you do not polish now. Anyone struggle with integration? Anyone struggle with trigonometry, etc.? If you do not try, all of these are easy for you, alhamdulillah. But I noticed from many semesters, many students actually are not well polished with this. You have to polish this, because we do not teach this. We just expect you to use. So that's the thing. Hopefully you understand. So I will help some bit for those who want help, right? But please understand this. Especially in the subject, we will do a lot of 3D problem, right? So if you have problem with this triangle, right, then when the triangle is in 3D space like this, right, it will be mind-blowingly hard, right? So please make sure you understand all of those before next week, right? And I'm not exaggerating. When I'm saying before next week, it is crucial before next week, because next week we will use already all of this. This is an example, just to see. Okay, every single of this question, if you take more than 1 minute to answer, you have a problem and you have to polish. For example, on the left here, can you express or can you get what is the horizontal component of each F1 here and F3 here? If you, after 1 minute, you still cannot get the answer, meaning you have to polish. For example here, what is this? Express the integration equation to compute the area under the graph. So if I want to calculate what is the area under the graph here, give me just the equation, not to solve until the end. Give me just the equation. So if after 1 minute you cannot still give me the equation, you really have to polish back on this understanding. Or to integrate this. Find the value of A, integrate this. Can you do this under 1 minute? Right, so this is just to check whether you are okay or you actually need to revise. I think the case is this. Many of you have learned of this. Not many. All of you have learned this before. But what we tend to do is, after the exam, we delete all file, we empty the recycle bin, right? So delete everything. I do not want to remember anyway, right? Little that you know that it will come back to haunt you in the university, for example, right? So those are the things that you actually need to use in engineering, right? So hopefully you refresh all of this. Any question before we go to the next slide? Right. Okay, hopefully you're not too scared by now, but I'm just saying this for your benefits. Okay, now this is the process, generally the process of learning, right? So normally when we teach new subject, new content, new idea, new concept, first the question mark here, what is this? And then your mind start working, and then whatever expression that you have, right? Now, I think generally speaking, until you get that whatever, you still do not understand. That's a general way of general way of knowing whether you understand or not. If you listening to a lecture and then you still, if I say you understand, I think I understand, that you're still processing, right? You will understand when okay, then it means you understand, right? So do not stop trying to understand until you get that aha moment, right? So that is important. Do not assume I think I understand. No, that means you don't. Okay, someone is scared. Hopefully, okay, we will try to overcome those. Now, this is the traditional class cycle, right? So it is expected that you cover the material before to come to class, but I think most of the students never do this. And then they come to class, you listen to the lecture, and then you attempt to solve the problem in homework, revision, etc. after the class. Right? Normally that aha moment is come here after, when you do the solving problem, right? When you how to solve, etc. until okay, and that is when you understand. So what I do in my class is this. It is a flipped classroom. Have you heard of this before, flipped classroom? How many of you have heard flipped classroom before? Yes? So you have gone through flipped classroom before? Many no? So if you have gone through flipped classroom before, so you know what to expect, right? For those who have never heard of this, okay, so this is basically the idea. Before coming to class, you actually cover the lecture already. In class, we actually solve problem, right? And then you expand afterwards, right? So we want to bring the aha moment in class, because most students do not revision after class, right? So in flipped classroom, it flip the flow, right? Meaning that normally you go through the lecture in class and then you do revision, solving problem after. In flipped classroom, you cover the lecture before class. In class, we solve problem until you understand, right? So that is my approach in my class. So if you understand that, so this is basically traditionally you listen to the lecture and then homework activities. Flipped classroom, you watch the lecture before coming to class, right? So the obvious implication is that you have something to do before coming to class, right? So what we want is we want to bring forward the learning process so that after the class, inshallah, you already have that aha moment, right? That's the ideal circumstances, right? So any question with regard to this? Is it clear? Meaning that, okay, so before the designated time of class, before that I already should have already covered the lecture before coming to class, because in the class I will not teach you the lecture, we will actually solve problem via tutorial, right? So that's the idea. Any question? Is that clear?
Yeah, clear.
All right. So how, okay, so the videos, okay, this snapshot, this is previous snapshot, so ignore just this one because I do some academic related vlog where I ponder upon, I do many experiment when I teach, but anyway, so those are the things. But anyway, so I have a playlist here about statics lecture for flipped classroom, so it will cover each chapter for the lecture as well as the tutorial, right? So we will see where to get that. So that is the videos that you need to cover for the lecture videos before coming to class, basically. So where to find? So basically, you if you open your YouTube in your browser, find this my name here, Saifuddin Rehan. So just go to this one where this is my face. This is also my account, but this is my daughter's face. So normally here is more on the family video, etc., old videos. But so the class video, etc., is which the account with this picture here. And in the, when you go there, there will be, of course, this is I haven't managed to change all of my slides, so this is old slides. So this slide is for semester 1 2019-2020. So right now, if you go to that channel page, you will see at the bottom, you scroll, you'll see static semester 1 2020-2021. So that will be where I will put the lecture video, for example, including this one, right? Normally I record my lecture in class, right? So but here then I record the online, but of course it will take some time. So for example, this very lecture, because it's already in the afternoon, it will finish uploading and put online tomorrow morning, something like that, right? So you can find, so for whoever miss a class or cannot attend a class, please see what is being covered there, right? That is if we have any synchronous class like this, right? Otherwise, the lecture itself, for the content, the lecture and tutorial is in this playlist. All right, that's where to find them. Now there are normally these 3 videos that I always put up front at the beginning of the semester. So if you see here, refresh course, trigonometry. So this is what I want to, because just now I said about several things that you need to know about mathematics that we assume you to know before we go into statics, right? So this is a video to help you to refresh everything that you need to know for statics in terms of trigonometry. And then this one is about integration, what you need to know in terms of integration for statics, right? So for those who have forgotten, etc., please watch those videos so that you know exactly what you need to know and what you need to be able to do with regard to trigonometry and integration, right? Especially in 3D, right? So hopefully that video make it clear what you need to understand in 3D, right? Because I noticed many students struggle to imagine 3D angle, right? How to see the sine, cosine, whatever, right? So make sure to watch that video before, ideally before next class, but the latest is before next week, this weekend, whatever, right? So because you need to know that already before going to chapter 2. Then also put this one. This is from my personal perspective. I put this one just to be fair to the student, because normally I will just say this video is available if you want to watch and want to know what the student talk about me. I think for those who are from CFS, you know that we have SFS, right, where you rate the lecturer and give comment. So in that 1 hour plus video, I read through all the comments that I received from the students from the beginning of me teaching this subject until when I record that, right? So it's a long comment. It's 1 hour plus. There's a lot of that. So if you want to know what type of lecturer I am, what the student talk about, I do not filter that. Any single the student said your class is very boring, the student say I do not learn anything, whatever, I cover everything so that it is fair to you. If you think that based on that comment you want to run away from this section, you still have the time before the end of this week, I think, right, to add and drop, right? So just to be fair, because I do not want anyone who do not know what they will be facing throughout the semester. All right, so that is there. Not compulsory to watch, but if you want to see what type of comment I have, right? But these two video up here, I really hope you cover this so that you do not have problem with regard with trigonometry and integration. All right. Normally I have to request for permission to record, because I normally record the lecture, and because in the class the video can capture the students, right, especially those come late, so their face will be in the video, right? So I just said, is there any problem, or anyone who actually cannot have their face on YouTube because they are running away from their wife or whatever, I do not know, so I have to request for permission. But in this case, because we are online, normally there's no issue with regard to that. Yeah, independent. So as I mentioned before, we do expect you to be learning how to manage yourself and have a high level of independency. I will show this one clip, right? So just take a look and try to see whether you understand what's going on. Okay, I'll play it right now. Okay, if you may notice, the girl switch on and off the power there at the socket and the electric socket there, right? So my question is this: can you guess what she tried to do by switching on and off there? Can you guess? Is it random, or what is trying to be achieved there?
Open the phone, man.
Pardon? To what?
Open the phone.
Log in the phone?
Maybe.
I think that she's trying to investigate the effect of switching on and off on the iPad itself. Like, what's the effect?
Wow. So so
could
kids
be
this
random.
young have already that level of, yeah. What you mentioned is correct, right? Because actually, when this is my little girl, I didn't understand at first because it seems random. She do something, right? But only after certain while I noticed what she was doing, because she know from watching us that to open you have to swipe, right? But here you cannot swipe, right? Until you push the button here, and then here you can swipe, right? Of course, at that point I do not have this passcode yet, so you can, when you swipe, it straight away go in. But when I switch off here, whenever she swipe, it never happened anything, right? So she didn't know about this button, of course, but she managed to find out that when you plug in here the cable, and then when you switch on, then the screen lights up and you can swipe, right? So that is an example of, I think, to get to what you want to achieve, even little kids can explore until they find out a way to actually bypass certain things, right? So that is interesting, I think. So my point is here is if even small kids can find a way to solve what they want to achieve, right? University students should have more creativity actually to achieve what you want, right? So we do expect you to be independently, be resourceful. Do not expect everything to be spoon-fed, etc., right? So you have to be independent enough to know where to find information, to ask for help, etc., etc., right? So hopefully you are training yourself to be independent, inshallah, right? Now, this is not to add, because some of you are already scared just now. This is not to add to further scare you, but just to really show the real thing that happened, so that you do not be under the illusion that without doing anything you can be fine, right? Now, this is one semester result from 2 sections. Do you notice anything? If you can see from the left, A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. This is real result from one semester from 2 different sections. The majority get F, right? So, this is the approach from the mechanical department actually, right? Because if you know about the different way of grading, I think certain department use the curve, meaning if you get the student get this kind of grade, then they do the curve. So normally those ahead get A, and then it's distributed, right? But in mechanical, so far, is the approach is like this: if you get that mark, you get that grade. If no one get 80%, no one get A. If everyone get 80%, everyone get A. We don't mind. So if everyone get like 30%, everyone get F. Not a problem, right? So we do not push the marks. So do not expect your mark will be pushed just so that the department will look good, right? So the mechanical department do not behave like that. It's just that if you achieve, you achieve. You don't, right? So this happened actually. So and this subject, that's the thing about this static subject. The trend is every semester about 40% students have to repeat. That's almost half, right? So that's a lot. I'm not sure why, but hopefully from the beginning you try to avoid being that people that will end up having to repeat. Now, is it possible to all push to get good grades? So my point is this: whatever I said earlier about do not delay, make sure you watch this week, etc. If you ignore all of those, this can happen. Nauzubillah. I'm not wishing, making dua, but this can happen. But for this is another semester when I start to do flipped classroom, right? So one of the class, okay, the distribution is there, but less students get F on the right, but on the left there more students get A, etc., etc., right? So it is very much possible actually to push everyone to get A or A minus. It's very much possible actually, because this is an old slide. I think after this semester, the section under me get the record breaking of the number of A actually. But it really depends, because when you do flipped classroom, if you do watch the lecture before coming to class, and then in class we do tutorial, normally you can get the maximum understanding. But the issue is, if you do not watch the lecture, then you will be lost, right? What's going on? So that's the implication of the flipped classroom. So it is very much possible to get good grades. So I do hope you do put in the effort. It's not automatic, it's not free, it does include effort, but it is possible. Hopefully we can help each other, inshallah, right? And okay, just additional point, I know some of you are not from mechanical, so what we will be learning is nothing to do with, for example, if you are biotech, so all of this has nothing to do with you, right? But my point that I hope you take to heart is this: just settle this subject in one go. Do not, how to say, do not put enough effort, do not put enough effort that you have to repeat, and then it will keep haunting you every semester, right? Because next semester you will be learning more how to say, more tougher subject in your own course, right? So the best case scenario is just pass the subject and just leave it behind, right? Especially those who are not from mechanical. So that's my suggestion. Even though you are not interested in mechanical, just, you know, just put enough effort just to pass, inshallah, and it will not haunt you ever again, right? So do not wait until it's too late. So that just some things that I have to put in remark. So there's no such thing as, because some student will come in the end of the semester, so can you give me extra assignment, blah blah, to no, not possible. This also happened many times. Brother, we are Muslim brothers, brother, so can you change my grade? So not gonna happen. If you ask, so what's the question in the exam, I don't remember. So okay, I will, because we don't have enough time, I will skip this part. But sometimes I cover this one just to show some of young high achievers after they graduated, right? Some of these are engineers. Because some of my friends here, if you just will just take 1 minute, right? So in 2018 they have a revenue of 35 million, and then if you notice here, they target for 100 million sales. So these are all youngsters, young how do you know, young people making a company like this. Some of these the founder are my friends. So there are many examples like this that shows that I think you young people have a lot of potential, as long as, yeah, work hard, play hard. That's their motto. So it is possible, right? And many of these actually they perform in their study, that's one. They perform in their society when they are student, that's two. They actually started business already when they are student, that's three, right? So it is possible actually, as long as you manage your life properly, inshallah. All right, so this is an example of what is in that 1 hour plus video. But for example, very strict lecturer but very good one. I don't learn anything from him. No offense, but you are boring, blah blah blah, right? So there's a lot of things here. I cover from the semester, early semester until now, so you can see the trajectory, the best, etc., right? So of course I also learn from semester to semester. You can see from the early student, unfortunately they learn from me when I do not know how to teach, right? Okay, so again, reminder, please cover these things. Now we only have 12 weeks. So I will show you. I think I will put this in in Google Classroom. I think I have put this and make it schedule, so it should be already in Google Classroom. But the schedule is already shown there, right? So if you can see today, actually briefing, introduction, and should be chapter 1. So we have to cover chapter 1 shortly and finish chapter 1, because next class we already have to cover chapter 2. So all of these videos here is the videos that you have to cover before that class, right? Before that class. So meaning that before the class on Wednesday, you should already, or I will be giving the instruction. Of course this week will be, I think, a bit, what to say, transition, so you can actually watch during the class as well. But starting next week, we do expect that you already have watched before the class, right? So all of this, so we know the schedule is already there. The midterm is already there as well. So it's 20th November, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then until the end, right? So we have the revision, etc. So this is already available on Google Classroom. Oh, sorry, I show. Okay, so for your case, it will be different. It will be Tuesday, Thursday, right? Sorry, I show for the other section. So it's just shifting the, yep, Tuesday and Thursday. Sorry, I think I uploaded a different one. So I'll make that correction, inshallah. Thank you for that pointing out that mistake. All right, so we'll finish off with this slide. So I already asked you about this one just now, so I will make another survey just in case someone was not here, etc. Is anyone having anything? Because this lecture is actually combination of two sections. One section will have 3:30 to 4:30 for both days, and then just one of the day from 4:30 to 5:30. There's a background to this. Actually, this course is a 3-hour course. Originally back then, it is 3-hour lecture plus 1 hour tutorial. However, due to several issues, one of it is we do not have enough money to pay tutor for tutorial, and the other thing is officially the course is only 3 hours, so the tutorial is abandoned, and many students struggle, right? And then they push back the tutorial into this 3 hour. So that's why in your current schedule, the 2 hour become lecture, 1 hour is tutorial. So one of the section have tutorial on Tuesday, one have on Thursday, the second hour, right? However, the issue is the material that we have to cover, you cannot compress, because the original 3-hour lecture is just enough to cover the material. So when they push that, so I do not know how each lecturer do it. Either they cut short or whatever. So I find it very difficult. So that normally I do ask, if you do not have anything on the other day of 4:30 to 5:30, we'll just allocate that time as well. So, but unfortunately, it becomes roughly 4 hours per week, right? But however, in our implementation, we do flipped classroom as I mentioned. So the idea is like this. You cover the lecture before coming to class. In the class, it is mainly on tutorial and asking question for whatever question that you have, so that until you understand, right? So in the tutorial or in the class time, it's decentralized, meaning that different student can attempt different question and ask different question, etc., right? So yeah, so if you have finished early, you have covered everything and you understand everything, you can leave early, etc. So it's up to you if you want to take all the 2 hours or just half an hour. But the main thing is, as long as you understand what you should understand, right? So it's more on that approach, right? Because the lecture you already have covered before coming to class, right? So that's the approach of my class, right? So medium of communication, one is iTaklim, second is Google Classroom. So third, I think someone already created the the WhatsApp, right? So hopefully, I'm not yet in there. So yeah, that can be another communication medium if anything. All right. So hopefully, quiz timing. All right. Okay. Previously, I always do quiz at the start of the class, meaning in this case 3:30, right? However, in a flipped classroom, what will happen is like this. For example, last week we covered chapter 3, for example, right? This week we will cover chapter 4. So, before coming to class this week, I have to watch the lecture video for chapter 4, so that when I come to class, we will do the tutorial chapter 4. However, the quiz will be for chapter 3 last week, right? Because we covered last week, this is the quiz. What will happen is most students will focus on the quiz. So they will prepare for chapter 3 and they do not prepare for chapter 4. And that affect the class. So that's where I come with an alternative solution. Do you prefer that actually, for example, this class, you watch the lecture before class, you come to class and we do the tutorial, you ask all the questions you need to ask so that you understand, and then at the end of the class, straight away quiz on that chapter itself. Is it okay for you or no, or how?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Good decision. It's okay. Okay, sir.
It's okay.
Alright. 0127. Any objection? Because if we do like that, then it really the positive for those who prepare is that it's very fresh. You straight away do the quiz for the thing that you exactly just prepare for, right? The negative thing is if you do not prepare, if you do not do the meaning in the class you do not understand, then you cannot answer, right? So that's where yeah, because in the previous way we do it next week, but that issue is if, because for what is it, for student who can do both, right? Because if you do next week, meaning that you have to prepare for two things, right? Before coming to class, you have to cover the lecture for chapter 4 and you have to do the revision for chapter 3, because the tutorial will assume you already cover lecture chapter 4, so you can understand the tutorial, but at the same time you have quiz for chapter 3 at the beginning, so you have to also revise for chapter 3 if you need to, right? So that's the impact of if we put the quiz to the next class, right? So any other opinion? So I will try to put because right now of course some of you already commented on your opinion, but generally speaking, for whatever reason, I think only 5, 6, 7 voice out from this 55, right? So I'm not sure what the rest that is keeping silent, what do you think about it? So I will be making a survey, I'll put on Google Classroom perhaps, so please answer that, so that then I can know the whole class what do you think about every single aspect, so that I can decide more to suit the majority perhaps, right? Okay, so this again, please do try. Okay, yeah, in the next class you will have your first quiz, but it is not a graded quiz. What I mean by that is just there's two objectives. One is just to see how rusty or how well prepared are you for the mathematical part, but at the same time, because we are online medium, so sometimes the issue with submitting quiz online is the technical issues, so I just want to check that one first. So in the next class, so I just announced right now, so in the next class we will have the quiz, but it will not be graded, it will not be meaning that it will not affect your marks, but I just want to see whether everyone have any problem to submit the quiz. All right. Okay, so that's the end of the briefing slide, and as I showed just now as well, we will have to cover chapter 1 this week, right? So in the remaining time we will just cover chapter 1. It shouldn't be that long. Chapter 1, all right. So where's the slide? Oops. Yes, I record the class. I'm recording the class, but not. I'm screen recording. Okay. So this is, where is it? Okay, this is the slide for chapter 1. It should be short lecture, because this is just to introduce you to mechanic statics. What is the anyone who have the Google Classroom, because I've put the Google Classroom link in iTaklim actually. Some of you actually already went in, so yeah, okay, that one I guess that's for chapter that's for section 3 and 4, right? Okay, so yeah, okay, so inshallah, in short, we will just browse through this chapter. It's just about mechanics statics. Okay, so we'll skip something. Okay, what is mechanics? Mechanics is basically a study of what happened to a thing, and technical word we use is body, right? When force are applied. So for example, what is happening to this body if there's a force happening, right? So what happened? So that basically is mechanics. So the object can be of anything, right? This one, whatever, big or small, we can analyze what happened when we put force onto it, right? The branches of mechanics, so we have the from the left, which is the easiest, which is rigid body. So for example, this is rigid, meaning that it doesn't deform, right? If it's deformed, then it's broken. So it doesn't deform. So under this we have statics and dynamic. Static is just stationary, dynamic is moving, right? And then we have deformable, and on the right is that's the most complex, which is fluid, right? Because fluid can flow, right? So under fluid we have incompressible and compressible. So if you are not mechanical students, you will only learn here, right? Statics and dynamic, I believe. Do you have to take dynamic as well? I think you have, right? But for mechanical, you have to learn until fluids when you are third year, fourth year, right? So yeah, that's within mechanics, right? Unit of measurement, so I believe you know this already. So there are 4 fundamental physical quantities: length, mass, time, and force. And you should know by now the Newton's second law, which is F equal to mass time acceleration, right? F equal to m times e. We are using SI system unit in our course, which means that we use kilogram, Newton, etc. So I noticed some students actually have some maybe reference that use like pound, inch, feet, etc. Right? Of course, if you watch any American movie or series, they use that one, right? How many feet, inch, pound, etc. So the concept is still the same, but the unit is different. So if you are familiar with that one, do not mix up, because sometimes in the exam the question say what is 1 kilogram, blah blah blah, and then suddenly the student answer in pound and inch, whatever. So that doesn't make sense. So just be aware of that. In terms of the unit, for length is meter, time is second, mass is kilogram, and force is Newton, and Newton equal to kilogram meter per second square. Of course, that is derived from F equal to ME, right? M is kilogram, E is meter per second squared, so you multiply kilogram meter per second square. So this is basic thing that you should know already. There's no plural. It's not like 1 kilogram, 5 kilograms. No, it doesn't work like that. And you separate unit with dot, right? For example, there this is to mean meter second, right? M dot S, meter second. Because if you do not have this dot, if you write ms, it means millisecond. The meaning is different, right? So many students tend to ask when they lose a lot of mark in the quiz or exam, right? They say, why is this, sir? Right? I said the meaning is different. Meter second and millisecond is different. They say, but it's just a dot, right? But you cannot argue that, because the meaning is different. You cannot just say missing a dot, right? What else? So there's such a thing as this. For example, centimeter multiplied by centimeter, you get centimeter square, meter square, etc. Compound prefixes should not be used. So I assume most of you know this, but in the exam some students do this mistake. For example, you know that 1000 is 1 kilo, right? But you cannot do this. 1000 centimeter become 1 kilo centimeter. No, it doesn't make sense, because centi and kilo is 10 times something, right? So you cannot kilo centi. What, you have to convert it to something, right? Is there a question here? Mg or other prefixes. Oh, this is for symbol. This is Newton, Pascal, etc. Right? Mg are the units. These are symbols, right? So for example, why are these here? Wait, is there yeah, I'm not sure about this MNG in terms of the context here. Anyway, you can refer to the textbook, but I think
the mass of planets, maybe. G is the force.
Okay, so this is prefixes. I think you know this, but in our statics course you rarely see milli, micro, nano, because normally in statics we deal with big things. So kilo, mega, giga you can see, but normally we don't analyze micro object, right? Next, numerical calculation. So what is important here? Okay, certain things in terms of understanding. Use appropriate number of significant figure. Normally they expect 3 significant figure for your final answer, but for your calculation, intermediate calculation, it should be 4 or more significant figure. Do you understand why? Now, do you understand why in the calculation you should use more significant figure? Do not round off too much. Do you understand why? Yes, because if you keep rounding off, you reduce the accuracy because you introduce error, right? And then when you multiply, the error can be too big, right? So you need to keep enough significant number. But why is it in the final answer they say it must be 3 significant figure? Shouldn't be more. This is according to this book. Can you appreciate why? Is there any problem if I give 5 significant figure as my final answer? Yeah, that's correct, right? So because if I give this example, right? If I say, okay, everyone go back and have a weighing machine, weigh yourself, get the mass of yourself, right? How many kilogram your own body, right? And suddenly tomorrow someone come and say, okay, I have weighed myself and the mass of myself is 70.123345 kilogram. That doesn't make sense because in reality we do not have any equipment that gives such a thing, right? That is more to relate to engineering, right? Even though in calculation, when you do calculator, you get all the number, right? But to relate to engineering, that's not logical. So you have to round to just 3 significant figure. So that's the idea, right? Because in real engineering world, if you give number like that, people say, are you engineer or you just know how to use a calculator, right? So it's just that aspect. So how to round off? I think you know how to do this. Okay, just because we only have how many minutes left. So in solving the problem, there's 3 steps. One is interpret. What it means is read carefully and understand what is given and what you need to calculate, basically, right? So in any question, in your quiz, in your exam, in real life, of course in real life it's quite different, but in the exam you have to understand what the question give and what the question asks you to calculate. Or it give me the mass, it give me blah blah blah, and we need to calculate what. Alright, so ask if not clear, if necessary make assumption and indicate them. Of course, you will only see this in this course in the final chapter, because in some question in the real life, actually a lot of this you cannot calculate if you do not make assumption. But in the first how many chapter you will not see this yet. All the question will be quite straightforward, right? So but this is the first step, interpret. Second, plan. So plan of the steps how to solve, and then think of alternative creative solution. This is as well will become very important in the later chapter, because one problem can be solved 2, 3, 4 different way. Certain way is short, certain way is very very long. So you might want to spend 1 minute to plan before you select your best solution, right? Because if you straight away solve and then you realize, oh, this one is too long, you already waste too much time, especially in the exam. But in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapter is quite straightforward. And then execute. Carry out your steps, use appropriate diagrams and equation. Now, in the course outline, you will notice that the objective that we want to see from this course is for you to, it's not just the final answer, but how you get to your final answer. I hope that is clear. Meaning that the marks will be given throughout the steps. If you miss the steps, you give your correct answer, you still lose a lot of marks. So if you do not draw your diagram, you must lose a lot of marks. If you do not state what is your equation, you just straight away calculate, you lose a lot of marks. So make sure you do not skip steps, because we want to give marks to all the steps to see whether you are using the correct steps, etc. Right? Avoid simple calculation mistake. Reflect on and then revise your work if necessary. This reflection point is just, I just want to give you this example. If the question say, I design a raft on a river, right? We have a river, there's a raft that is designed to carry elephant from one side of the river to another side. So calculate what is the maximum load that it can carry, and then you calculate, and then you say, okay, the maximum load that this raft can carry is 5 kilogram. Do you notice any problem there? Oh, there's no problem.
Yes.
What's the problem?
Can carry only 5 kilogram.
What's the problem with 5 kilogram? Yeah, it indicates, in reality, it indicates that something is wrong, because there's no such elephant is 5 kilogram. So meaning something is wrong in your calculation, right? So there's that sometimes in your calculation, when you make a mistake, sometimes from the answer you can guess, okay, something is wrong, this is not logical, right? But if you suddenly in the exam confidently say, sir, this is my answer, 5 kilogram, then the examiner will say, okay, this student do not understand, meaning it's not reflecting of an engineer to give such an answer, right? So even, I'm just saying in the exam, right, even if you do not have time to revise because time is up, you just say, oh my god, I make a mistake, this is not logical, at least it gives the picture that you understand what's going on, right? But if you, as if you confidently say that's the answer, it gives a back reflection on whether you understand what's going on or you just blindly calculate, right? Anyway, based on that, right, based on the 3 significant figure just now, if you calculate your answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.6 Newton, what will you write as your final answer here? Based on your understanding of what just mentioned, based on the concept of 3 significant figures of the final answer. D. Alright. What's wrong with A? Well, it's not 3 significant figure, right? What's wrong with you cannot okay, what is, you cannot say E, right? Because this is wrong. Of course, obviously this is wrong. Okay, you cannot say C as well, right? I think you understand, right? So this actually explain why in the textbook sometimes they change the unit from Newton to kilonewton, because they want to have 3 significant figure. Because in Newton you cannot have 3 significant figure. You cannot say suddenly 1, 2, 3, 0, 0 Newton. That's wrong, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.6 Newton does not equal 1, 2, 3, 0, right? But if you round off to if you change the unit to kilonewton, then you can round off, right? So that's explain why some questions change the unit. This one I think you know, IPE, piece for plan, right? So before I finish, this is the final slide. I'm assuming you know the game where someone draw and then you have to guess what is being drawn, right? So I will draw something here. Just guess what is being drawn based on what we have learned today. Any guess? Oh, no guess at all. This is about statics. Do not comment about politics. Prime Minister, which one? All of them. I'm not sure if any of you are following the news today. No, I mean, of course. What do you think this is relating to what we are learning today? I didn't mention about. Yeah, this is 3 significant figure, right? Unless you disagree. No, that one is not significant anymore. Okay, so but anyway, this is a long. I made this slide when you can see all of these are significant figures, right? So that is significant figures. Nothing serious about this. This is just to end on a lighter mood, inshallah. So we already exceeded the time, so sorry. So any question before I adjourn the session? So the recording for this class, it will be available I think by tomorrow morning in the channel that I've shown just now. You can search Saifuddin Rehan on YouTube and then find semester 1 2020 2021, right? Yeah, any other anything before we end the session? You're welcome. Alhamdulillah. Alright, so I assume no question. So just remember what is so the important thing is, if please find time to watch the 2 videos, trigonometry and integration, and see how whether you are okay with all of those, or some of it you actually need some practices. With that, I think we can end the session, inshallah. I seek forgiveness for all anything that shortcoming. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Okay, yeah, before I end, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with what was just recited. I think most are familiar with that. In Malay, we call it tasbih kafarah, right? Tasbih kafarah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu until the end. So in the next class, I will ask, why do we recite such thing? Why do we recite that thing, and what is the benefit? Is it from Rasulullah SAW or what? Right? So because many of us recite that, so why? So that I'll just ask in the next class. Hopefully you find that answer. With that, inshallah, thank you very much. See you in the next class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.